In this video, we are going to be talking about what is emotional intelligence and why it is important. So my name is Will, and this is my personal development YouTube channel. So let's get started. What is emotional intelligence? Now, first off, you probably heard about this because a lot of successful people talk about it, or this is a buzzword that just keeps popping up in your life. Anyone who's into personal development, or not even personal development, if you're in like a business or you're around a CEO, you've probably heard this term at some point. And what it is basically your ability to tell the emotions and feelings of another person and use that to better navigate any type of social interaction with any type of person or a group of people. And this is really important. And to explain why it's important, we're going to do a little story. This is basically the quick crash course version of the history of the term. So it started out in around the 60s, 70s, 80s when studies started coming out about emotional intelligence. You see, before these studies came out, the common belief was that to be more successful in the world, you had to have a higher IQ. Basically, people thought that the smarter you were, the more successful you were going to be. And that was pretty much the only metric that mattered. And the truth is, that wasn't the case. So these studies on emotional intelligence came out, and they started this, uncovering and discovering that emotional intelligence is really important to your success too. And it makes sense. If you can better navigate a social situation, whether it's you're selling a product to someone as a salesperson, or you're talking to someone in your family, or you just met someone for the first time and you're going to start a business interaction, or you're across the table and it's a very important meeting, it's important to understand how that person feels, empathize with them, so that you can better phrase the interaction and talk in a way that will come across better and get your goal better and make it a win-win for both of you guys. But most people kind of suck at emotional intelligence. Now, the second reason that this was a huge breakthrough and revolutionary was because it was actually something that you can improve. Studies show that you can actually improve emotional intelligence, like basketball. The more you practice basketball, the better you got. Same thing with emotional intelligence, or EQ. I'm just going to say EQ from now on, since it's a lot quicker. So that's really just blew people's mind, and it got people excited, because IQ is something that can't be changed. You're kind of born with it, and most people thought, and a lot of people still think, I run into a lot of people my age and younger who still think it's all about how lucky you were when you're born and how smart you were, and there's no way to change how smart you were, and IQ is the only thing. But that's clearly not true. So basically, a few books in the 90s, Emotional Intelligence and Emotional Intelligence 2.0, really popularized the concept. And that's when a lot of people started really hyping the phrase up. A lot of CEOs started using the phrase and saying how great they were at EQ and how important it was, and how they started, and a lot of them started hiring and looking for EQ as well. And it kind of got hyped up. Bill Gates has talked about it. He's written articles about EQ, and he's mentioned EQ. And then the last 10 to 20 years, I would say from 2005 to now, things have kind of changed one more time. And basically what's occurred is that, first off, there's a lot more debate about this now. Some people are saying oh, it's not the only thing that matters. Other times, people are saying oh, EQ matters, but you have to have a certain level of IQ first. So there's some debate towards that. But the big thing, the big thing in recent times is that there's been a lot more studies and books coming out that have, in my opinion, unearthed some interesting facts that I don't think anyone has really talked about that much, but it's really important. And the main thing is this. I've kind of realized that there's all sorts of different things that is that are very useful to your success in life that you can improve, not just EQ and IQ. And other people have talked about this in books, and it's still a fairly unknown concept to the general public. I mean, I can't talk to any person on the streets about this because most of them still assume that IQ is all that matters. Trust me, I've tried, I've tested this. However, in the last few decades, we found that, first off, hard work, practice, and the amount of time you put into something is really important. Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outliers, outlined that. Second thing, willpower is huge. Willpower is something that can be improved, but willpower is very important to your success. And then there's other things, a whole variety of things that I talk about a lot in my other videos, but another big one is your straight up level of ability to navigate social situations. And it's basically called social intelligence. I should have just said that from the start. And social intelligence, it makes sense because you could be the smartest, highest IQ person in the world, but if you're living in the medieval times and you're playing a Game of Thrones, doesn't matter how smart you are, if you pissed off the king or you challenged the king to a point where you insulted him and insulted his ego, and you knew that this king, you know, he didn't always make the wisest of decisions, you were going to be beheaded. You're going to be killed, beheaded, betrayed. And so that's one example of social intelligence at play. Sometimes it's better not to be the smart aleck and tell the king the right answer, because you're working for that king and pleasing the king is more important than telling him the right answer. And that was because your head was going to get beheaded. Your life was on the line. So now we live in a strange world where I think there's a lot of different things at play, and there's a lot of people who are really socially intelligent, unintelligent that is. I mean, I've run into a lot of people who are just as nerdy as me, who really suck with social intelligence. Like, they'll say stuff that offend others, and they'll just do stuff that's really kind of weird, and they won't realize it. So one could argue it's not as important now. As long as you can program or, you know, do this or that, you're good if you're good at math or whatever else. But I would say all these things are really important. And of course, with such a vast, diverse world, maybe if you only care to be like an isolated computer programmer in a cubicle who doesn't interact with the general public or other people, maybe social intelligence doesn't matter as much to you. But generally speaking, when you look at some of the highest level people, they have adequate levels of all these things. Now, you don't have to be a perfectionist and perfect at all of them, but just knowing this stuff and improving them slightly gives you a huge edge over most people. Because I bet you, out of all the cars that have passed behind me, or the next 100 people you pass on the street, 100 of them, if not 99 of them, don't know any of this, and they haven't even spent a day of their life trying to improve any of it. So if you can just improve one of these things, you can really shortcut and gain an edge on life. And you can kind of start seeing how they're so useful. I mean, willpower, that one's kind of common sense. The people with better willpower, they're the ones who will go to the gym and work out a little bit more, while those without willpower are going to say, you know what, I don't want to. And, you know, some people say it's all about finding your passion, which is partially true. But there's also that element of, you know, you can find your passion, but there's still some moments where it's going to be tough, and it's going to be really tough to do, and you don't want to do it. But those with willpower will do it anyways. So long story short, start researching some of these. There's plenty of great books on the topic, and don't get overwhelmed by trying to become perfect at all of these. If you just take baby steps and improve just one of them, like emotional intelligence, you can start getting better. And my challenge for you is to do one thing to really improve your emotional intelligence today. And that can take as little as 2 minutes. How about you go out into the public, see someone you have never seen before, and just imagine how their perspective is and how they feel in a certain situation and why they feel that. Hope you like this video. Of course, if you're new to this channel is all about self-development and success. You can hit the subscribe button below for free updates every Thursday. Otherwise, I will see you in my next video.